Welcome to High Stakes. I'm your host, Tracey Devlyn. On this show, I chat with authors about the moments in their stories that change everything, what's at stake, what it costs, and why we can't look away. From thrillers to romance to sci-fi and beyond. Let's get to it. Joining me today is New York Times bestselling author Eloisa James to talk about her new gothic historical romance, The Last Lady Bee. Welcome to the show, Eloisa.
Thank you so much for having me.
So happy to have you here. Uh, just a real quick comment before we get to talking about the book. Anybody who's been enjoying your video shorts on TikTok or even on Instagram will love and appreciate that you dedicated your book to your son Luca, which I thought was so wonderful.
Yeah, because he's made a lot of the funniest videos. He just had another one. TikTok is doing some weird, or maybe it's Instagram's doing some weird thing where sometimes they go back and pick up an old video and
Oh,
suddenly it goes viral again. And he's living in Vienna right now, taking care of his baby. And I wrote him, I was like, look, you've gone viral.
oh, that's
Because
great.
they
That's
they
great. It
just
was,
yeah, he's
I'm
great
sorry, go.
at it.
Yeah, it's nice because they just show a different side of you. It's through your writing you can tell that you have a wonderful sense of humor, but the videos really bring that out, and I think that's great. I think humanizing our authors as much as possible these days is really important.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%. I mean, I think the AI problems are so huge right now that
Yeah.
the more we can just be ourselves on video and show that we are, I hate that word authentic, but
Yeah, well,
face it,
it's fits.
authenticity is going to be rare pretty soon.
Yeah,
So,
yeah. Well, you had mentioned in the dedication that he is a writer, so I thought that was kind of neat. Is
yeah.
I don't know if he's doing that just for himself as an aside, or if he's going to follow in Mama's footsteps. But I thought that was pretty
No,
great.
huge news for him is that his agent has just taken a third look at his, it's a YA novel about goblins and
Oh,
had some
great.
tiny, tiny fixes. And then I think she's going to take it to market. So
Oh, wonderful.
fingers
All the
crossed.
fingers are
Yeah,
crossed. Yes, all the fingers are crossed. All right. Well, just to get us started here, would you mind, for those who might not have met you yet, would you mind telling the audience a little bit about yourself?
sure. So I'm Eloisa James, and I've published a load of historical romances at this point. I've got over 30, just kind of scary. Um,
Yeah.
I was a Shakespeare professor for 25 years, but on January 1st of this year, I quit to write full time. So that was a big step
Oh
for me.
my gosh,
Yeah,
that is
I've
so
always said,
amazing.
I'm a Shakespeare professor first and I'm a writer second. And then I hadn't quite got to retirement age, but I was like, I really feel like I'd like to have one job now instead
Yeah.
of two. And the other thing is that, as I mentioned before, my son has had a baby. And unfortunately, that baby lives in Vienna. So I want to be able to go in the middle of the semester if I
Yeah.
want to. I'm in New York right
Absolutely.
now, but yeah.
Yeah. That's great. That's wonderful. So it sounds like he's living there full time, which I if anybody who has followed you know that you normally summer in Florence, which is where your husband's family is from, and that. So it sounds like your son has taken to Italy quite well.
Yes, well, his wife is a junior ambassador in the American State Department.
Oh
And so
gosh.
they are posted in Vienna, Austria right now. I don't know how long that'll last because, as you know, everything is up in the air about State Department, but so far so good. And yeah, so anyone who's interested, this summer I'm going to be doing Facebook Lives form in my group, Lindau Castle, but I'm going to do them from Paris and from Provence in June, and then from
Yeah.
Vienna in July,
Oh,
and then I'm not sure where in August, and there'll be some Italy in between there.
yeah.
But yeah, I'm gonna be bopping around this summer, and I decided I want to share it. I know a lot of
Yeah.
people are not going to be able to travel; they might have wanted to travel, and so I've been doing Facebook Lives kind of every Saturday recently. Really enjoyed it, but the
Yeah.
the commenters have said, we really want to see more Europe. So
Yeah.
I might as well share
That's
it.
great. Absolutely. Absolutely. And my apologies. I got my V's mixed up, Vienna, Venice.
Oh, Venice would be nice too. But alas, I don't think
Yes.
there's an American embassy there. So,
No, no, no. All right. And I think too that you and Taylor Swift are besties now too, right?
right. I wish. I will say that I read somewhere that Taylor Swift loves a gothic. So I'm hoping that the world brings her the last Lady B and somehow she finds it. Because yeah, I
Yeah,
think
yeah.
she's incredibly brilliant. So
Yeah. Well, it's fun too because in Lady B, you have a feisty character in there named Ophelia, which I thought was very fitting with the recent the thing that you did with TikTok
Fate
and
of Ophelia.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
It's
unfortunately that
wonderful.
happened before, but whatever.
Right.
It's
Yeah.
great. She had her
Uh,
thoughts about Ophelia, and mine are quite. I'm not thinking of the Shakespeare characters so much
Yeah,
here.
yeah, yeah. Well, I've been reading you for a very, very long time, and The Last Lady B has all of your wonderful trademark Eloisa styles, as I refer to them. But there's also something that's just I don't know. It's just really extra special about this novel, and it feels like it feels to me like an evolutionary moment for you and your writing, or maybe you're just having a wonderful time experimenting. I'm not sure. I couldn't decide on that. It has a great vibe, a gothic vibe, but it has like a modern day twist, and you wrote in first person, so there's just a lot of different. It felt like very different in a good way.
Thank you. Thank you. I guess I would agree with you. Yeah.
Okay.
It
All
was
right.
much harder to write than, I know historical romance. You know historical romance. And you could sit down right now and write one, right? We could both sit down and write a ballroom scene like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
And I decided if you're going to have a long career, you have to keep challenging yourself.
Yeah.
So I decided to add this gothic element. I should say that, some gothics are really scary and disgusting or whatever. No, I
Yeah.
don't have that. Like I have a
Yeah.
friendly ghost who doesn't really appear on the page. Um, and I think you know pretty well that my heroine's going to be falling in love with the hero the minute she meets him, which is like page 10.
Yeah.
So not that kind of like running away from the house in danger sort of thing. Um, but I did find like everybody's reading in first person now. And so I thought, well, I'll just give it a try. Writing in first person, it's way more difficult. It took
Yeah.
me a long time to figure out how to give her a voice that sounded like an Eloisa voice. So
Mm-hmm.
wry and funny and um, brave. She has to be very brave. And it just took me forever. And it took my editor, I'm not like three major, major edits. So
Oh
it's
gosh.
not just me, it was also my editor. So I was at Simon HarperCollins for years and she moved to Simon Schuster. And so when I decided to write something new, I followed her to Simon Schuster. And so she and I embarked on this new genre
Yeah.
together. Her name is Carrie Farah, and I just have to give her a
Yeah.
shout out because
Yeah.
she
She's
worked so hard on it.
she's one of the greats in the industry.
She is.
So that's amazing that you have such a good connection bond with her that you decided to switch publishers and follow your editor as opposed to that's wonderful. I love that a lot. That's great.
Well, I mean, HarperCollins has been lovely, and
Hmm.
they continued to be lovely once she left. They were just great. But there's something about an editor you've had for that long. It's very hard to tell Eloisa this isn't good enough. I've been
Hmm.
around a long time. I've had a ton of New York Times bestsellers. I see how challenging that is. So I need an editor who's like, I didn't read past page 100 because it's not working. She did that twice. And I got so mad. I was so mad. And I have now turned in the next Gothic. It's just called, at the moment, it's called The Only Miss C. And she did it again. I just rewrote the first 100 pages for the third time. And it's
I was
just,
going to ask you if you had a rhythm down for this next one,
oh,
but it sounds like yeah.
it's just harder. This is a
Yeah,
harder
yeah,
way of writing. And that's why I kind of agree with you. It's an evolution because I know how to write a Regency romance. You can
yeah.
put me in a prison cell and I would sit down and write a Regency romance. But this kind of thing where I'm constantly like questioning myself, like, is this funny? Is this not funny? Is this, has she stayed in character? What is it? how is it to fall in love in first person? It's very
Yeah.
different than talking about someone falling in love, which is third person. She did such and such. She said such and such. When you're saying, I said, woo,
Mhm.
it's challenging. So,
Yeah. So I recall seeing a video on social media between you and Carrie where she had some pages in front of her. And I want to ask really badly, forgive me if this is too personal, but were those actual pages?
yes,
That,
yes, they were. It was horrible. So it's a video. I went into Simon Schuster and we had decided, they have a wonderful social media person there and she set up a whole list of things. And so it was like, join me on my day to Simon Schuster. Well, I go in there and I know that we're having lunch and that she's got the next set of 100 pages of the only Missy. And sure enough, I look across and so, so the social media person was like, why don't you sit down and show how wonderful it is? You've been editing so long. And I found myself just throwing myself on the ground and they went ahead with that because I was just like, I can't believe
that's
this.
great.
Because
Oh
every
my
time I
gosh.
turn it
Yeah.
in, I'm sure you're the same. Every time I turn it in, I think, well, now this
Hmm.
this is so great. This is
Yeah.
the perfect, perfect, perfect. And then it's not.
Yeah, yeah.
So
Well, we
reading
just
through
there's
was
things we
wonderful.
can't see in our own writing, and that's why it's so important to have a good editor that
Yep.
they can see it, and then, like you said, be brave enough or strong enough or invested in the book enough to say, no, this isn't working,
Yeah.
and we
To
need to
give it
make
that
a
time, and they're
yeah,
all
yeah.
wildly overworked. So
Oh,
I'm so grateful to her for doing it again, seeing her on Friday. I'm praying that
uh,
this version is not going to work.
I think that's amazing too that you obviously live in New York City, so it's not too far for you to, pop in at at her office and talk to her, which, also helps establish that kind of good, good connection relationship. That's really wonderful.
Very lucky. I mean, she and I do a lot of like, we are meeting on Friday to go to the Met Costume Institute. It's
Mm.
opening up after many years. So we're meeting there. And then, we'll go to tea afterwards.
Oh, good.
We do all the costume stuff. So we just went to a Marie Antoinette costume exhibit at the Morgan Library, which was amazing.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's
Oh, that's
so she's
wonderful.
great because I remember we went to the Met. This was like a decade ago. We went to the Met, and it was one of the wonderful ones where they're doing, designer clothing. And there was this Versace dress, and she was like, "That's what we should do on the cover of your book." It's a Versace dress, and she's pulling it up, and she has breeches underneath. And we did. We took a picture of that and gave it to the cover photographers at that point, and they ended up doing it. So
Oh, great. Very
yeah.
nice. Very cool. Well, we've talked about your book a little bit, but we don't really know what's about yet. So do you want to give us just a quick summary of what The Last Lady B is about?
So the last Lady B is about my heroine, Evie, who has got Genevieve, who has married a very elderly man in order to get her younger sister a dowry. She's facing the no dowry situation. She wants her sister to be able to marry for love. So she marries this guy. He has three dead wives, all of whom have died in, in a Gothic abbey in northern Scotland. And when the book starts, everything's fine. They've been married like a year, and they're heading up to the Abbey for the first time. And my heroine is very funny and very wry, and she has read all of the Gothic novels, all of them, because they were very popular at the Regency. And
Yeah.
we have, Jane Austen signed up for all those Gothic novels too. So she's read them all. So she can't wait to get up there. She's like, she's going to talk to the other wives. She's going to, it's like sister wife time, only on the
Yeah.
battlements with ghosts. And and she has been an extremely proper woman, like proper young lady. And on that trip, she starts to break out of the rules of propriety. And because it's in first person, she really thinks about it and a lot. And the first thing she does is adopt a baby piglet on the street. And
Oh
the
my
second
gosh.
thing she does is sort of start getting in arguments with this very grumpy solicitor who she meets in the courtyard of the haunted abbey. So
Yeah.
it's a fun
Yeah.
novel. I think it's got
It
a lot
is.
of plot. It's a lot of fun.
It is. There's so many fun twists and reveals in this book, and I don't want to spoil anything, but how much of a rabbit hole did you go down to learn about just the various marriage laws and things like that to pull
A
off
lot.
some of these things.
Yeah, a lot. I mean, I got a lot of ideas from rereading Dickens because he's
Mm,
always messing around with this is not wrecking too much, but wills, births, secret births, all this stuff.
yeah.
Um, but then to actually make that work, because of course he's a Victorian, he can just say and do whatever he wants. But I know if I messed up, marriage rights in Scotland, I get a ton of letters from people.
You
So
would.
I would. So yeah, I did a lot of original research because that was the earliest. So you do see little bits of anecdotes and stories in there. If you read Hardly a Gentleman, there's some of that same research went into that book as well. I got really into reading basically just original history from the time, fragments of birth records, marriage records, newspaper articles. I mean, that's if anyone is listening and they're a writer, that's an amazing place to come up with ideas.
Okay. Yeah, great.
Crazy
Yeah.
back then, and they published it all in the paper.
Yeah. Um, well, I think everything was published in the paper back then,
Yeah,
wasn't
it's
like
like news.
everything. The way that you constructed the book, and I don't think really was, because I was absorbed in the story, so I wasn't really thinking about the structure. But especially they probably have terms for them, but at the top of each chapter, you would have a little snippet of Genevieve, I guess, talking to her sister,
Yeah,
right?
writing a letter to
And
his sister. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, and it as I got to thinking about that, it's like not even those little snippets, but you had little asides within the narrative sometimes too that were in parentheses, and I'm like, oh my gosh, it almost feels like this whole book is being written to Rosie in a way, and I don't know that that's what you were intending to do, and I didn't really think about it, like I said, as I was reading, but when I got done with it, I'm like, oh my gosh, did she just do that, or is this just me like,
No, you're brilliant.
no,
Yeah, you're the first
yeah,
one that said that. But yes, it's a book about how not to be a lady. And that's what
okay,
she wants for Rosie. At the same time that she gets the dowry for Rosie so that Rosie can marry a duke, the
yeah,
more important lessons are how not to be proper. And, they haven't been raised with a mother. And so she is kind of Rosie's mother. And so it's a dual story, right? There's all the little rules that she's telling Rosie at the top, but there's also what she's learning, which is about found family and
yeah.
being brave and
Hmm.
finding your family.
Yeah, yeah, it's lovely. And like you said, the cast in this book, there's so many fun people in it. And I was very curious, even the nasty ones. I love them all, right? Um but I was thinking it really must have been difficult. I get whenever like Colette and Ophelia and Peony, whenever they would kind of skip onto the page, how did you not let them take over? Because
Well,
they're
they
it
did. Yeah.
did they? Okay,
Oh,
they were
they
just
did.
such fun
And
characters.
yeah, they would. Colette was, Colette is a very funny French woman. She would take over. Ophelia was dynamic. I
Oh
mean,
my
the minute
gosh.
Ophelia came, so Ophelia is this kind of emo Regency girl. Um, and, when she came onto the page, you think, the Addams family, really. That's
Yeah.
what that I would say.
Yeah.
The Addams
Yeah.
family. You've got this whole other dynamic going then between Evie and a young girl and Evie and the grumpy solicitor Godric and Evie and her husband and Evie and Colette who becomes her closest friend, and so you're it was more like writing a novel, I think, for me, which is one reason why it's an evolution, because when you're writing a romance you have to enshrine that main relationship between the two of them.
Hmm.
This one, I had to make that romance incredibly satisfying, right?
Yeah.
But I felt I had the pages. I had more room. Peony the piglet could have her own little personality. She too could be in danger, where she is, of being stuck into a stew pot. I could have all these different plots. But one thing I learned from J.K. Rowling and Harry Potter is that they all have to mesh at the end. Everything
Yeah.
has to come together at the end. So I focused really hard on that. But
Yeah.
it took me much longer to write this book than a romance. So
Yeah. Yeah. I think well, I'll say that for later, but yes. So we'll talk about Godric. I think that he was just this wonderful character, as always, classic Eloisa hero. But I think that you gave him m more modern day sensibilities, at least more than I recall in your previous books. And am I right in that, or is that something that you intended to do?
Yeah, well, my books have changed over time, right? When
Yeah,
my heroes did not care too much about consent back when they were a pirate, once upon a
yeah,
pirate, consent is
yeah.
not high on his list. Um, so the characters, you have to keep changing with the
Yeah.
time. Like, what are people going to want to be? But again, it was difficult to give Godric depth when I was never in his point of view. I normally switch back and forth between the hero and heroine's point of view.
Yeah.
So if you're only in the heroine's point of view, what I discovered is that the hero has to be maybe more articulate than he is in some other books. In other
Hmm.
books, maybe the heroine figures out he had a difficult childhood, which is not Godric's problem, but things sort of unfold. Here, Godric has to tell you what's happening. He
Yeah.
has to tell, and that was really interesting because he he's very observant of what's going on with her for his own reasons, and then she learns what those are. So,
Now I know you said you already have a second. This is a standalone, right?
yeah,
This book is a standalone, and the next book is similar, but
the
it
standalone.
linked at all?
No,
No, no
no,
linking at all.
no.
So I'm going to assume that there's going to be a hero heroine, just like in this book.
Yeah.
Did you keep it all in first person, or did you do first person and third person? Because I know like with some thrillers they'll do a first person and third person, which is kind of interesting.
I thought about it, but it felt clunky.
Oh, okay. All right.
So I'm changing it up again for the next one in
Okay.
that I have the first person of my heroine, but I also have the first person of a little orphan. So she has very short chapters, but she's in between. So
Okay.
she's not at all like Ophelia, but she's a very strong character. And so I have it's a really fun book, and I really love it. So I'm praying for Friday that it'll finally pass muster. But yeah, it I tried to go a little bigger in that I have another point of view. But when
Hmm.
I tried the heroes, it kind of blew the gothic side of it. Like there's something
Mm.
about the gothic, when the woman is figuring things out and there's the reveals and there's possible danger and there's this and that and she's going into a situation she doesn't know. My heroine is in this second book is an incredibly high-powered house organizer. So if you are the Duchess of whatever and you're going to have a child and you're going to, you
Uh,
might be able to hire her for 3 months. She costs a fortune and a half, right? Just a freaking fortune. So you can get her for a certain period of time and people like desperately say, "Oh, I've got her." So she's folding up some newspapers and she finds a 2-year-old notice saying that a noblewoman in Scotland is looking for her only lost relative, and it's her
mm,
name. So
nice.
she heads to Scotland. And so she's the lost heir,
Yeah.
the typical Victorian plot, but there's another orphan as well. So there's two orphans and their stories intermingle. Um, and yeah,
How,
like it.
how are you enjoying writing the standalone novel?
I like it. I mean,
Yeah.
I know that readers are going to be sad because I don't know about you, but a third of my mail is about characters who readers think should be having their own story, right?
Exactly, yeah.
Um, and so I have a character in the Wild series, Horatius, that I get letters from like once a week, and those books are old,
Yeah,
but people are still discovering them because of ebooks. Everything is
right.
always new. And I do think though that for my next Gothic after this one, I am going to pick up an old character who was a child,
Okay.
and I think she'd be a wonderful character. It's from Viscount in Love, where I had two really smart children who were writing ghost stories. And so I think the young woman and the young girl in there is now going to be a lady and be a governess.
Ah,
Scott. So I have that in the back
Nice.
of my head. But you know how it
Okay.
is with the publication, like the book pub we're talking right now, and the book will be out on the 12th of May, which is next week. And it's just it's hard to think of anything else when a book is
Yeah.
coming to fruition, and then I'll be able to clear my head and think, okay, what am I doing
Right.
next?
Kind of do a reset. Yeah, absolutely. Well, on this show, we like to talk about a story stakes. I always joke, love, death, the fate of the realm, they're all high stakes in a story. But what I'd like to hear about is your thoughts on what's personally at stake for your main character in this book, which Genevieve would be the idea.
That's a really interesting question. Um, Genevieve has traded off a future and love for her sister. So the person she loves best is her sister. And so she's given away one of the most valuable things that people put at stake. She's decided that doesn't matter. She's going to make sure that her sister gets the love of her life. And so I would say what's at stake for her is huge because it's recovering something that she gave away rather carelessly.
Yeah.
At the same time, another stake she's got is actually figuring out who she is. She knows every rule there is to being a lady because her mother died young and so on. So she knows them all. She can recite the propriety books. She has recited them to her sister. But she's got to figure out who she is when you put those rules away and when you realize that other people are not following those rules. I mean, a lot of people are not following those rules. And so
Yeah.
just shock after shock after shock for
Yeah.
her because she assumes, having started reading them as a young girl, she assumes they're true. Like what they say about gentlemen and gentle ladies is true. Well, no, it's not, it's just not. So,
Yeah, and Godric plays a big role in helping her figure that part of herself out too, which
what
is,
is a gentleman? Right.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So for those who might have missed the announcements at the end of last year and this, the first half of this year, Lady B holds the very special honor of helping Julia Quinn launch JQ Editions, and I was hoping you could tell us a little bit about that.
Sure.
Because
I mean, as
I'm
much as I
I'm
know.
anxiously awaiting my copy. I
Your
can't
box,
wait.
yeah.
Yes, yes,
It was
yes.
exciting. I mean, I heard
Yeah,
about it through the blue because Julia and I have been friends for a million years. I mean,
yeah,
literally, like my entire writing career. She started writing before me. And so when she knew this book was coming out, she asked my editor, Carrie, for a copy. She didn't want to ask me because then if she said no and she wanted
yeah.
to maintain quality control over her subscription box, which I 100%, approve. So when she wrote to me out of the blue and was like, "Hey, this is the best book you've written in years." Like, I want it. I'm going to make this hardcover. It's going to be gorgeous. I was just blown away. And it is,
Yeah,
I'm just watching it from the side, but it's been such a creative, fantastic endeavor for her. She sent me examples of various artists. I mean, I didn't really play any part in that. She chose the artist, but I think I think so I think something that people are really going to love is that Ophelia, for example, everybody's on the end papers. The Piglet is there. If you have this book, let me here, I can get it. This one. So I just have my heroine, right?
yeah,
And what I love about this, it's really my first illustrated cover. And I was very excited because Simon Schuster were like, well, because of so many AI covers, we want to find someone who has a very distinct style. So that
mm,
everyone who looks at this cover, if you wouldn't have seen his other romance covers because he doesn't have any. He's done like, Beetlejuice type stuff and advertisements for cars, but he has a very distinct style. And I love the fact they went out on a limb and he did a wonderful job at capturing
yeah,
Evie's little like over the shoulder, you know, and a
yeah.
little sweep of magical
Mm-hmm.
snow and then the
And her
abbey in the background.
style.
Her
Yeah,
style,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
So to have a second illustrator looking at the same thing has been really fascinating for me and then she made a picture of me as well. So I'm like, that was kind of fun. So so it's just been fun. And I will say it's also
Good.
been very inspiring. I am going to do my first Kickstarter in the fall. And I'm writing four novellas. So they're called it's like the Duke's rejected wife, the Marquis's rejected fiance. They're all super funny.
Oh,
They're about
nice.
these two families, the Chaldicots and the Greystokes, who've been warring since the time of Henry VIII. And then one of them goes to see Romeo and Juliet and it's like, oh no, all the children die. There. And so that Duke sets up all these interlocked betrothals with people who are in the cradle, basically.
Okay.
And these are the stories of what happens later.
Nice.
And um and I'm going to do a Kickstarter. I've learned so much from watching Julia, and she has
Yeah.
shared like all the companies that helped her, and I found a wonderful illustrator, and so it's going to be a box set, and yeah, I'm psyched.
Oh, that's exciting. That is exciting. I think your fans are going to love that too. These uh these really beautiful editions, that these special editions, deluxe editions, whatever they're calling them, that they're creating these days. They're just so pretty on the
Yeah,
shelf, and just I don't know. I'm happy that that the publishers are making these feel like some they're special. That's like, I don't want to say luxury item, because I don't that maybe gives the wrong mental image, but it's just they're just precious again. They just feel precious again. And that's what I think is really cool about what Julia Quinn is doing, is that these JQ editions, that she's making these special editions. Yours is a new release, but then she has like Loretta Chase's
yeah,
Lord of
Lord of Scoundrels.
Scoundrels, which is a older classic, and she's doing like maybe three or four of those a year, and then she already has 2027. And I
I
just
think
think
there's
that
three of them this
that's
year and like five next year or something.
yeah. I
Um,
just think that's really a great way to highlight, and especially with her platform, that she can bring an audience to a new book, and then she can
right.
also bring a whole new generation to some of these historicals that you and I loved.
Yeah.
It feels like many moons ago, many, many moons ago.
Oh, discovering
But
Load of Scoundrels, I will never forget reading
yeah,
that for the first time. I mean,
yeah,
I've read it so many times, but
yeah.
it's just such a wonderful book. So yeah, I
Oh,
still would
good.
recommend it to
Congratulations.
everybody.
That's great.
So yeah, it's very exciting. I mean, my Kickstarter is not going to be on the level of hers. I just have to say that because I think hers went to $650,000. I'm aiming at, I think 10. Like
Yeah,
mine's not,
yeah,
I'm not going to make any money with it, but I want to have this beautiful thing I can share with readers. And I've just had so much fun
yeah.
creating it. So
Yeah, yeah,
yeah.
absolutely. Well, switching gears just a little bit, we've obviously uncovered a lot of fun facts about you, but I was wondering if you can think of anything that readers might be surprised to learn about you.
Oh my. I don't know. I've been talking so long, and then my son's always asking me questions like that for TikTok, and I'm like, Luca, there's not, what am I going to
There's
say?
nothing.
No, I haven't had anything exciting. I have not inherited a wild fortune or, had an affair or my life is so boring. I mean, I will say
That's
that
good.
I realized something today, which is which is not something that's going to surprise any of us who are romance readers, but it kind of startled me, which they were saying it was an article on happiness. And it was like sometimes you just have to back out and realize that something makes you happy. We do things that we
Mm,
don't realize how happy they are. And I was rereading a series that I happen to really love, which is a kind of fairy tale series by Cassandra Gannon, if you've read her.
mm,
I love her work. And I realized this is what they're talking about when they talk about meditation, which I've never been able to do, or, yoga, which whatever, maybe. For me, it is sitting down and reading a book that I love, where I walk into the characters and I've read it so many times. I don't even know why I'm reading it again. I'm just reading again, and it does so much emotionally. I have a
yeah,
lot of pretty much all the books that I feel that way about are paranormal books, simply
mm,
because I can't write that. So that has been my go-to.
yeah,
Alona Andrews and Cassandra Gann.
yeah.
Um,
No, it's nice that you can go back and reread a book like that you loved so much at the first time you read it, and now you've read it and it's holding up.
yeah,
Sometimes, like you said, we have to adapt, and writing changes, things are tightening up, and these types of
yeah,
things. And so to find a book that's still holding up, one that you still love, is really
yeah.
amazing.
Well, it's kind of like you're walking into your own memories, right?
Hmm.
Because I've tried recommending some books that I love to people, and they're like, oh, But I read them when I was 20, and
Right.
I walk into my 20-year-old mindset. And so I don't mind if the hero is, kind of not what I would want to be married to.
Right,
Doesn't
exactly.
matter. It is meditation for me. It's like
Yeah.
romance can do that, right? It doesn't have to be challenging you all the time. It can just be a clearing space where you allow yourself to forget politics and
Yeah.
your children and finances, and you just come back to reading.
Watch watch two people fall in love, which is
Yeah,
always wonderful,
live
right?
it with them.
All right. Well, before we go, can you share what's coming up next? We know that you've got a Kickstarter that you're going to be working on this fall.
Yep.
You're waiting anxiously for Friday to come for your number
Yep.
two. Is there anything else, or those are
Well,
the
no,
things that are
there's
occupying you at this point?
I can also share that I have my first graphic novel, novella coming out. So I'm going to a conference called Author Nation / Reader Nation,
Mm,
which is in Las Vegas in
yeah.
November. And I'm very psyched to be going. And so if anyone's going, please sign up because I just said that I would do a book club and all these things. I'm giving a talk
Nice.
on how to write bestsellers. But for the reader part, the keynote is Andy Weir, who wrote The Martian, and they said, "Do you want to be part of a graphic anthology with a story by Andy Weir?" And I thought, well, that'd be fun. I mean, talk about meeting new readers. I expect they're all going to
Yeah.
be male, but whatever. And I had a story that I thought would make a good graphic novel, so I turned it into a script. And now I'm going back and forth with Hector. So they hire this. The artists were all very accomplished, Marvel Comics illustrators. But that doesn't mean that they necessarily understand romance. I keep saying things like, can you make her feet a little smaller? Because, and her jaw, I mean, she looks like Superwoman and Wonder
Oh,
Woman.
that's fun.
She can't do that. She's got to be, so Hector and I are learning about romance kind of together in a graphic artist kind of way.
Yeah.
But that I will say has been very inspiring. And I think I'm going to do two more graphic novellas with Connie Brockway, who's also written.
Oh,
Um,
yeah.
yeah, we're going to do ones from the point of view of pets. So they're
Okay.
going to be four love stories
Yeah.
in which the little dogs are telling the story.
Oh, that's
And
neat.
those will be graphic novels. Her daughter has one of the biggest rescue pet organizations in Minnesota after the ASPCA. It's the second biggest.
Okay.
So we'll do it.
Perfect.
Yeah, do
Yeah,
it in
perfect. Yeah.
in sort of a charity, part of the proceeds going to the charity and
Yeah.
auction off the name of the dog, that kind of thing for the
Oh, that's wonderful. Lori
yeah.
Foster does something similar to that each year
Yeah.
for her uh, author and reader get together. At least she did. I haven't watched the last few years, but she would put a, a an anthology together with different authors, and it would always have a theme, and a lot of times it would have
Yeah.
a pet theme or something like that, and then she'd give the proceeds to a local charity. So that's great. I
Yeah.
think that's wonderful.
It's going to be
That's
fun. Now I have to figure out
romance
how to write from
writers
the
are
point of
great.
view of a dog, let alone how to create a graphic novella from the point of view of a dog. But I think it'll be cute. I like creating pets a lot. I thought Peony in The
Oh my
Last
God.
Lady B was great.
I just want a pet piglet now. I
I
just
know.
want a pet
So do
piglet. She
I.
was so
Oh,
freaking adorable.
the research on piglets. Oh my God, they are so cute. You can't have a piglet in a New York apartment, but I mean, I really wanted one for the next book, the Only Miss C. There's a parrot named Hamlet, and he he only says a few words, but they're all from Hamlet, They're just those little to be or not to be kind of thing. And he likes to chew on little wooden balls, which parrots do, but the groom carves them all to look like little skulls. So when he's crossing you, he'll throw a little skull at your head. I love him.
Those
I
are
think,
details that are just amazing when you come across it. It's just like with little Peony, whenever Genevieve was holding her in her arm, you talked about her velvety ear just kind of flipped over her arm. There's those little details is just why I love you so much.
aw,
It's just
thank you,
great. It's
Tracy.
just
That's so
great.
nice. That is from growing up on a farm there.
Yeah,
We
yeah,
did, yeah. Piglets are great. I mean, they're not so great when they get big, but they're great when they're tiny. And my piglet remains forever enshrined as
yeah.
Wilbur, the tiny piglet.
There you go. Perfect, perfect. All right. Well, folks, be sure to order your copy of The Last Lady Bee today. You can learn more about Eloisa at her beautiful website, eloisajames.com, where you'll find all of her social media links and be sure to sign up for her newsletter while you're there. Eloisa, thank you so much for taking the time to chat with me today. It was a lot of fun. Really
It's
appreciate
always
it.
a huge pleasure to talk to you, Tracy. You're so perceptive. I love it. Thank you.
That's it for today's high stakes story. Follow the show so the next episode lands right in your feed. And if you enjoyed today's chat, a quick rating or review helps new listeners find us. Visit tracydevlyn.com/podcast for show notes and links to today's amazing guest and their fabulous book. High Stakes is a proud member of the Authors on the Air Global Radio Network. Thanks for listening. Until next time, enjoy the adventure, everyone.